5. I remember drawing a burning building, a large marble building set in a green glade and surrounded by gentle hills. I drew it in pastels and made the marble of the building pale and blue and veined with small wandering rivulets of white. There was a gold dome with a trim of purple arabesques that were tall arched windows, somewhat like the windows of the Ladover building. I drew flames pouring from the windows and swirling around the roof and eating into the marble. My mother asked me what it was, and I said it was the library in Alexandria, the one the Muslims had ordered burned because its books could not be as important as the Quran. Did my mother remember telling me that story? My mother remembered. Why had I drawn such a picture? I didn't know. What did the picture mean? I shrugged a shoulder. I drew a book burning. Then I drew piles of books burning. Then I drew houses burning. Then I drew the Ladover building burning. And my mother was no longer asking me what it all meant. Sometimes during those weeks, my mother took me to our family doctor. He prodded and poked and tapped. What is our Asher Lev drawing these days? Yours are fine, just as fine. Have you ever been in the museum? No. An afternoon in a good museum is good for the soul. He used the Hebrew word nashomo. You're skinny but healthy. Yes, I'll send you to someone for the eyes. How is your husband? You heard about the doctors. Give my regards to your husband. Tell him this American-born Jewish doctor thinks of him often. Goodbye, Asher. Are you using oils? No! When you use oils, be careful of flake white. It contains lead and can hurt you if it gets into your body. Advice from one artist to another. I paint on Sundays. Goodbye, Asher. Goodbye, Mrs. Lev. A few days later, I went to an eye doctor. He took a long time. My eyes are fine. I did not need glasses. No, there was absolutely nothing the matter with my eyes. And then I went to another kind of doctor. He was a young doctor with thick glasses and a fixed smile. There were games I had to play and questions I had to answer and drawings I had to make. A few days before, I had seen a large gray cat struck by a car on Kingston Avenue. It had run off into an alleyway, dragging the lower half of itself in a queer way and leaving behind drops of glistening blood. I drew the cat for the doctor. I drew the cat under the wheels of the car, and I drew the cat, and I imagined it later in the alleyway. He stared at those drawings a very long time without smiling. I do not know what he told my mother, but she was very subdued all the way home from the office. My father was in Montreal that day. The next day, the boy sitting to the right in class leaned over and whispered in Yiddish, Asher, what are you doing? I heard him, but could not understand what he was saying, and went on working with the pen. Asher, I heard him say, still in a whisper, but a little louder than before. How could you do that? I felt a boy sitting behind me lean forward and look over my shoulder. The one sitting at my left looked too. There were gasps and murmurs of surprise. Then the one sitting in front of me, a thin, pimply-faced boy with an endlessly running nose and a high nasal voice, turned around, looked, and said in Yiddish in a voice that could have been heard on the other side of the parkway, You defiled the holy book, Asher Lev. You desecrated the name of God. You defiled a chamash. He seemed horrified and looked at me as if he were witnessing the sudden appearance of a representative of the other side. He moved out of the desk and backed away from me.